Okay, cool. Hi, Joel. Thanks for
Mark, nice to see you.
nice
Nice
to
to see
see you
everyone.
again. Thanks for taking the time to meet with us today. Um, I'm supposing that everyone knows who you are, but just in case they don't, maybe you can explain a bit about the NF and what they do.
Well, I can do that, but first I want to thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. Um, Courtney, I'd like to thank you for your email earlier this week so that I could get prepared for this a little bit. Mary Beth, where are you on my screen? I know you're here someplace. Oh, there you are. Hi, nice to see you again. And Amy DeLeon, no relation to Ponce de Leon, although it's spelled the same way, right? Amy and I got to meet here just a couple weeks ago down in Nashville. We had a great time, and actually, I think I just dried out from that weekend on Thursday of this week. It was we got pounded. Mother Nature had her way with us down there for sure. But thank you. Hi, Jody. Nice to see Jody Kawa here. I'm trying to see if anybody else here I know, but a lot of new faces and names for me today. So, but thank you. But Mark, Courtney was kind enough to send a list to me. Should I just go down a couple of those for a little bit? Take 5 minutes?
Yeah, whatever you want to do. I'm just kind of a go with the flow kind of guy. So
maybe I'll drop a burpee in between some of these. How does that sound?
So whatever you want to throw at
Yeah.
me, I'll try my best to catch it and throw it back.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, for those of you who I haven't met, my name is Joel Sutherland, and I'm the Director of Development here at the National Ataxia Foundation. And basically, what my role here at the foundation is to do is to bring in as many dollars as we can and as fast as we can. Because the reason is money buys research, research finds the answers, and it's a dirty little secret, but it's something we all got to come to grips with. It's all about the money, and it's money it's going to get us to where we need to be. Kind of going down my list here a little bit for Courtney. Once again, thank you. How did I get here? I'll try to give you the nickel tour. Notice and understanding we have a couple people from Canada here today. I'd like to say that I would like to say that I can easily say I'm from Southern Canada, if there is such a place, which is actually extremely northern Minnesota. How's that sound?
That's right.
I actually grew up on the North Shore of Lake Superior, about an hour and a half south of Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada. So I feel like I have the privilege today of saying I'm from Southern Canada.
And you used to work in hockey, right? Which is very Canadian.
I did. And I grew up on the North Shore of Lake Superior, and after graduating, sometime after that, I went to work in sports. I spent 28 years in sports, working for the Los Angeles Dodgers in Vero Beach, Florida, which was their minor league headquarters. I returned to Minnesota and worked in Major League Baseball with the Minnesota Twins before going on to the National Hockey League. I got into corporate sports marketing with ConAgra Snack Foods, working on brands like David Sunflower Seeds, Orville Redenbacher. We had Slim Jim, and I created our first sports marketing division there. Also, at that same time, I got into ownership of some minor league baseball teams in Minnesota. I was a sports guy for 28 years, and I had during those 28 years, I had touched on a lot of different areas. And in about 2011, I decided it was time to do something different. And lo and behold, I was recruited by a pediatric pulmonologist here in Minnesota at Children's Hospitals and Clinics of Minnesota to see if the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation was looking for a new executive director for Minnesota and the Dakotas. And I was hired in 2011 to take over those three states. And little did I know at the time, coming from the sports world, that I was really landing at an organization that was really a platinum standard in the healthcare industry. If people are ever interested, I'd be more than happy to share their business model with you at some point. But I will tell you this: I left there in 2016. They had $4 billion in the bank. And because of their philosophy about money buying research and research finding answers, they will have a cure for all folks with ataxia or with cystic fibrosis foundation or with cystic fibrosis in my lifetime. They were very myopic in their approach, and I learned a lot there. While I was there, after they landed a $3.3 billion agreement, I knew there was no need for Joel Sutherland at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation anymore. And lo and behold, I was recruited by some folks at the National Ataxia Foundation to come over. Surprisingly enough, some of you might find this interesting, that I knew about ataxia long before I ever came here, primarily because of my roots in sports. You see, as a kid growing up in northern Minnesota, I was a big Minnesota Twins fan. You know, it was where I grew up was 4 hours away from the Twin Cities, so I was listening to every Twins game as I could when I was a kid. And there was a player on that team. His name was Bob Allison, and Bob Allison played in the 1965 World Series. I know I don't even look that old, do I? I mean, it's like 65. No. He was in the 1965 World Series. Now, I won't tell you I remember what it was like yesterday, but I do remember it.
When you said you graduated, I was going to ask, was that last year or the year before?
Yeah, well, thank you. Very good. Well done. Well done. And then I got to know Bob Allison when I was working for the Twins, and that was in the early '80s. And after his career in Major League Baseball, Bob went to work for the Coca-Cola bottling distributor here in the Twin Cities. And after a couple of years there, Bob's gait got a little wide. Bob had a slurred speech. Bob lost his job at the Coca-Cola bottling distributor, and nobody knew why. Everybody kind of assumed things, right? Well, Bob passed away in 1992 from ataxia, an unknown ataxia. And there's now the Bob Allison Ataxia Research Center at the University of Minnesota. And so I actually knew about ataxia long before I came here, which is, as we all know, not a lot of folks know about ataxia. Anyway, I came here in 2016 with a mission to raise as many dollars as we can and as fast as we can. We do it through a number of ways. I spend my time right now, I spend a lot of time working with pharmaceutical companies, creating a collaborative, a drug development collaborative, and raising and sponsorship efforts for our conferences every year. Our conferences are expensive to put on, yet valuable to our entire community. So I spend a lot of time working with our partners on sponsorship, working with them on a drug development collaborative, which is pre-competitive, which means these pharmaceutical companies come together and sit around a table and share their successes. They share their issues or their failures, and they share their ideas on how they want to move forward. And I will tell you this on the front end, and we can talk about it later if you'd like to. I'm totally open to it. I'm a big fan of pharma. There's a lot of people that don't like pharma, and I can tell you what. Oh, hang on. I don't want my battery to fade on me. Hang on. Hey. Let's see. Saved it. There you go. I'm a big fan of pharma because as I saw when I was at CF, if the pharmaceutical partners are profiting, that means our community is benefiting. And we can talk about pricing later if you want to, but I'm a big fan of pharma, and we work closely with them in a pre-competitive way to help find a treatment for those living with ataxia. So that's kind of my role here. I do work with I have a colleague, John Wegman, here at the office. We work together on a daily basis on our programming, which can be our sponsorship programs. It can be our drug development collaborative. It's working with our major donors. It's working with a recurring gift program where people can give $5 or $10 a month on a monthly basis. It's a recurring gift program. But one of the things that I really enjoy doing, in fact, it's probably what I enjoy the most here, is something that we call passion fundraising. Amy, you saw it in our efforts down in Nashville, where our local folks, our people bring together an idea of what they want to do, and usually they're not thinking with their head on what they want to do; they're thinking with their heart, and that's why it works, and that's why there's a lot of joy in that. So I love doing our passion fundraising programs, which Jane Jaffe does an annual traditional tea in Southern California. We have some folks in Illinois that just do a big, they call it Cameron's Call for a Cure. It's a night of dancing and music and silent and live auctions. Where there's golf tournaments that go on around the country. Our extreme hike that we just did in Nashville. Those are programs that I really enjoy working on. So. How about if I take a breath there, Mark, and if you want to chime in and give me a little direction on where you'd like me to go?
So you talked about a few fundraising initiatives right there.
Yeah.
Are there any other ones that are currently in progress, or stuff that's going to be coming up this year?
Well, I can tell you, you might be familiar with on June 1st this year, we're going to be launching our 5th annual. We didn't even know this was going to be an annual deal. We did it, started 5 years ago, just a one-time deal, one-time shot, I should say. And we have a family, the Michael, it's the Clements and Pearson Family Foundation out of Washington, that for the last 4 years, this will be the 5th year in a row that they make a donation of $100,000 to SCA3 research. And it's a matching program where the dollars come in, and they'll match dollar for dollar, but the dollars that come in are unrestricted funds for us. And that's really important. We're going to go over $1 million on that campaign this year. We're going to launch that on June 1st, and that it'll go, it will go till the middle of June. That's something that's it's been a real great program, both for our research, our restricted funding, and for our unrestricted funding, where we're able to do things with it to help grow the foundation.
Right.
We've also just recently, I'd say May 1st, John Wegman and I are starting to put the meat on the bone, so to speak, for our annual walk and roll campaign, which it's about a $400,000 campaign. We have roughly 19 markets here in the States that are going to do some kind of walk and roll event. I would say 80% of them will be live this year. As many of you know, the mask mandate here was lifted as of today in Minnesota. Today, the mask mandate is gone, and there's a lot more enthusiasm for people to get together. Now, that isn't happening everywhere, but it's happening in many of the places where we're going to have a live walk and roll. We're also going to do our virtual walk and roll again this year on October 16th, kind of put a bow, so to speak, on this whole event. That's going to be on the 16th of October, probably from noon to 2 o'clock, kind of recapping what everybody's done, and then do a virtual walk that day for a day where folks, if they're not comfortable getting together for a live event, we'll do a virtual event. So those are the big things that are going on right now, Mark. Working with some other families around the country to start some things up. There's an event. How about this? I like telling this story. There's an event in Tucson, Arizona in July. Think about that, Tucson in July. Now, Tucson in March isn't too bad, but Tucson in July. And we'll be going down there for an event called Space Fest. Really a cool event. Imagine a ballroom filled with nothing but space art. I'm talking about outer space and planets and astronauts and spaceships and everything. We had a family who's lived with ataxia for a number of years that owns a company there called Nova Space for for 15 years now, they've had this event called Space Fest. And John Wademan and I went down 2 years ago to Tucson, and there are like 500 people. I mean, it's a really niche community.
Right.
Man, was that cool to see so many people involved in this really unique space, so to speak. And the owner, the gentleman who founded Space Fest, had SCA3. He was a space artist, and his daughter Kelsey Poor, who some of you may know from some of our webcasts, it's her family that owns it. It's just a wonderful event, and we'll go down there, and we've done some really nice things to raise funds for NEF. So we're working on that right now. A lot of little things, but they're a lot of fun. So
I think something like that is really cool, because a lot of times our initiatives get stuck in this sort of ataxia bubble, and nobody outside of that bubble kind of hears about it.
Mark, let me tell you, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that's one of the things that we need to do a better job of. We, NAF, us, my colleagues, me, we continually talk to our same people. And we'd like to get in, we would like to get into some other groups, and that's why Space Fest was really so cool. We were able to raise funds. We introduced ourselves to a new community, and while we're doing it, the Arizona support group really got energized by this. Oh, by the way, I gotta say hi to somebody I haven't seen for a while, Dana Creighton. Hi, Dana. It's been a while. Hi. So that's something we've got coming up in August, and we're really looking forward to that. So a lot of things are going on. I will tell you this. This is one thing that I'm quite proud of, and I don't know if our community really knows this. I mentioned earlier how I became the executive director for the Minnesota and the Dakotas chapter for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. I had 3 states. I had a 12-person staff. Here at NEF, we have a national office. We have 11 people. What this office is accomplishing, and I'm touting it. It's something I like to tell, because a lot of people don't really know the scope of what we're doing and the things we're accomplishing on really a small staff. And my colleagues know, and Andrew knows, my mission, one of the things that I would really like to do is I want to grow the infrastructure here at NEF. We have been, this foundation has been tremendous stewards of the funds that have come into this foundation for decades. And that's why we have 1 office and 11 people. We need to do some more investment into our organization so that we can get more boots on the ground, and so that we can do more, and so that we aren't, coming in on calls and meetings, once a year, or once every 6 months, where we can be more involved. A number of years ago, I was at a fundraising event in Texas. We had a great event, and we came out of that meeting, and there was a lot of energy. And I remember I got back to my hotel room that night. It was like 10:30. I'm going, that was fabulous. That was great. And by 11 o'clock, I realized, you know what? We're not going to be down here for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And we need to grow we need to grow the foundation. We need boots on the ground. So I just wanted to sort of let you know that my colleagues here, there's a lot of things that are getting done here on a small staff. We all wear a lot of hats every day. We want to do more. Sometimes we don't do as good a job as we'd like to in some areas, but it's never for lack of effort. So we need to grow our infrastructure, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. So,
right.
How's that for a long answer to a short question, Mark?
Oh, it's fine. It's totally fun.
Yeah.
So on all these fundraising initiatives, where does the money go and how does it get spent? Like, for someone who is just, say, on the very outside, and they're saying, oh, we've over the last 20 years, X amount has been raised, right?
Yep.
How does that get distributed?
Sure. Well, I can only tell you for the last 5 years. I'm now in my 60th year. I can shed some light on that. Certainly, dollars are brought in to help maintain staffing, and so we're allowed to keep our advocacy programs going, get our websites up to speed, hopefully we're doing some things with our support groups and providing access and support in those areas. I think we do a really good job with that. But I think the bulk of the dollars, and I think where you're going with Mark, is how do the research dollars fund? Because there's a lot of dollars that are brought in for research. And I can tell you that those decisions are not made by our 11-person staff. Those decisions are made through our board of directors and our medical research advisory board. And if Sue Hagen was on the call, she would talk about a very robust program that's in place where we seek the best.
Joel? I hope his battery did not. Oh, I think we lost Joel for a second. Maybe his battery died on his computer. So yeah.
Let me hold my spot. Where was I? Right about here, Amy?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm recording.
So it's a very robust program where we engage with our medical research advisory board and seek the best proposals from researchers from around the world. They are scored. When I tell you, it's going to be close to 100 researchers and clinicians that engage in scoring these grants every year. And based on scoring and the need for the grants that are applied for, that's how those dollars are awarded. It usually starts in, I'm going to say late August, early September, when we start seeking grants, and it's not complete until December, when our board of directors signs off on it, and that's where the bulk of our dollars go every year. Like I said, no issue with this foundation in how we steward our dollars towards our research, Mark.
I know maybe Sue Hagen may know a bit better how this breaks down. Mm-hmm. But I mean, from some people, I get this feeling that people want to know, we've raised like say $20 million for research. Why mm-hmm. haven't they found a cure, right? And it's a perfectly legitimate response, I guess. But maybe it comes from a place of not fully understanding what that implies, what is involved in actually finding a cure.
Right. It's finding a cure. It's an expensive proposition, and it's a flame that needs to be fed continually. And I think many of you on this call today, from your involvement, have, like myself here. Now, remember, I just got here in 2016, but from what I've seen from 2016 to now is almost breathtaking in terms of the speed of things that have been happening. Keep in mind, up until 2016, there was one genetic testing company available, Athena Diagnostics, that had the patent for ataxia panels, a $20,000 cost for a genetic test with no clinical trials going on. Subsequently, their patent has expired. More genetic testing companies are in this space. The prices have tumbled, and now we have clinical trials taking place. When I got here, I knew of one pharmaceutical company that was interested in the ataxia space. I can tell you that yesterday's Thursday, right? Boy, this week's going by. Yes, Thursday morning, I had a meeting with my colleagues from FARA and Ataxia UK. We've already begun working on things for next year's International Congress for Ataxia Research, our annual ataxia conference, etc. We're working on for next March right now. We put a list together of partners that we're going to be trying to work with for next year. Yeah. It's over 50. It's over 50 potential partners. When I got here in 2016, I knew of one. Things are moving a lot faster now, and yet not fast enough, right? But I'll tell you, we've never had as many people in this space as we do now. I'm sorry, Mark, I don't know if I answered your question, but I know I did want to share that with everyone.
That's fine. You did, and you kind of answered the next question too.
All right.
About international partners and partnering with other organizations. So is it principally other organizations in the US and the UK, or are there other countries involved?
Another one, I mean, you can look at Europe as one, but in Europe we have Ataxia UK, and there's an organization in Italy that we work closely with. And there's also Ataxia Australia that we work closely
is
with as well.
FARA Australia?
I'm sorry?
Is that FARA Australia?
No, it's Ataxia Australia.
Okay.
That we work with. Just FARA here in the United States. And then they're a domestic partner of ours. Now Ataxia UK, Italy, which I believe is they call GoFar, or work with GoFar. And then there's Ataxia Australia. There aren't many more of those in there that I know of, but we do, we have ataxia researchers from around the world. So, but those are the main organizations, Mark, that we work with.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is kind of going backwards, but how does NAF choose the research projects? Well, you mentioned that the board is in charge of that, but do you know the process for choosing the projects where the funds go to?
Well, yeah, it's basically when the call is sent out to our research community that it's time to submit, to let people know what you're working on and where do you as an ataxia researcher believe that the project that you're working on is going to take us in terms of advancing the need first for a treatment and then to a cure? How do you perceive what your efforts are going to do to get us there? Those come in to the foundation, and then they're all pulled together, given to the Medical Research Advisory Board, and then dispersed through this network of researchers and clinicians around the country, around the world actually, to score those tests based on credibility and the need and the merit that our researchers believe where they have the most merit. And it's based on those scores, Mark, that right. Those are the projects that are funded. And once again, it's based on dollars available. Sometimes right. It comes down to what dollars available, then we have to choose, right? And I want to get us to the point where we don't have to choose. We just fund all valuable meritorious.
So it's research. Kind of like a tender for a contract or something.
A lot of it is, I think one of the things I think a shift that our research community might see from us, and I don't know this for sure, but as opposed to having them send us what they have, I think we might be taking a different position moving forward by saying, this is what we're looking for. Okay. Now, who's working on that, or who will work on that in return for these funds? And I think that's a paradigm shift of what we're going towards, but I think that's something that's coming down the line.
Right. And the last question here, if people have questions, where can they reach you, assuming you want to be reached?
I would love to be reached. I always enjoy speaking with folks. Hey, it's our email is so simple, right? It's joel@ataxia.org. Or if you want Andrew, it's andrew@ataxia.org. And we have it's really pretty simple. And I welcome all emails. Hey, I have no problem telling my cell phone number is 952-412-6488. If you want me to repeat it, I will. I have no problem taking phone calls. I mean, if I can't pick up when people call, I'll call you back when I can. If it's on the weekend or at night, it doesn't matter. I like hearing from our community, and just to understand the time zone change. If you call it, if you're
Yeah.
calling me at 3 in the morning,
You're on Central Time, right?
we are,
Yeah.
we are, and so I mean, it's I enjoy what we've got going on here. Mark, I love the burpee challenge. Those are the things. Those are the things that help move the ball down the field. If I may use a sports.
Yeah. No
uh,
worries. I've no problem with sports analogy.
There you go. That's what I will tell you this. Yeah, I mean, those are the things that are going to get us to where we want to go. I know people are. I know people believe in awareness and letting people know. I'll be candid. My neighbor, I'm not so sure I care if he knows about ataxia unless he wants to join us and get involved with us and help us raise funds. That's what's going to move our needle. That's what's going to get us to our treatment. That's what's going to get us to our cure. I know that's somewhat controversial, but I know it's my position, but it's something I really do believe in. I know we want people to know about what we're doing, but only if they're going to get involved with us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to get us to where we need to be.
Right.
And hey, can I throw a couple of questions back your way?
Sure.
Is that fair?
Yep, that's fine.
All right. Okay. Now, I ask these questions with the absolute and utmost respect. So I just want to float these your way. Is ataxia a good thing?
I'm really glad you asked me because I would, on a personal level, I think so. Like my own journey,
Sure.
I call it my, like, you familiar with sports, I call it, and business, I call it my competitive advantage, right?
Yep.
It's the thing that makes me different than other people, right?
Right.
So like, let's say I was on a baseball team, right? And everyone on the baseball team is quote unquote normal, right? But I have this extra challenge. That means I have to work harder, I have to work smarter, and at the end of the day, that's going to make me a better player.
Yeah. No,
right?
I get that. I totally get that, and I appreciate that position. Where I'm going with it is, a number of years ago, I think when I got here, our walk and roll campaign was walk and roll for ataxia.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a lot of people don't know what ataxia is. Do we all agree with that? A lot of people don't know what ataxia is. So for the general public, people might think ataxia is somebody's name. And where I'm going with this is, why do we have hope for ataxia when we want to get rid of ataxia?
Yeah, I guess I get what you're saying, but there's, I know what I totally know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like because I'm hoping for to an end of ataxia.
Yeah, right.
And I just float that out only as discussion. I mean, it's like one of the things that we're trying to be more trying to do here in our office now is be more bold with our things and having more bold conversations.
Right.
And maybe not it's not the we may not want to do the same things the way we've been doing them before, because that's the way we've been doing them, right?
Right.
So I just wanted to throw that out there and say, why do we have hope for ataxia when we want to hope to end it? That's all. I just want to throw that out there.
That's the reason why we came up with this ataxia burpee challenge, which we're starting in June.
I love it.
Because the thing is, we totally understand that there are people who have a lot of challenges in the ataxia community, but number one, we're interested in raising awareness, and what's the point of raising awareness in people who already know about ataxia, right? So we wanted to do burpees knowing full well that people with ataxia don't want to do burpees, right? Yeah. Because the honest truth is, I'm not interested in getting the attention of people with ataxia. I'm interested in getting the reach of other people, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Hey, Mark, and I agree 100% with. By the way, I think that burpee challenge is going to be awesome. I actually tried doing a couple before I got on this call just today, just so I could see try to remember what it felt like. Didn't feel too good. Hey, could I ask? Does anybody have any questions that?
Sorry, actually, Joel, there were 2 questions in the chat. I'm going to get to those, and then we're going to unmute everyone and let them have their free-for-all, I guess. Yeah, but so first question, Stacy asked, will next year's NAF conference be in person only, or will there be an online option?
My guess, and it's not confirmed, but I firmly believe in there will be a hybrid. It will be in person, and there will be some virtual aspect to it. I can't see that going away for next year at all. To what extent, I don't know. I can tell you it's expensive. It's expensive to do a live conference, and it's expensive to do a virtual conference. And combining the two, we have to. So one of the things that we're working on right now, frankly, we're working on trying to generate the number is $700,000 through our partners to put these conferences on for next year. They are not cheap. But so to answer the question, I really do believe that this is going to be a combination of live in person for those who want to and can, and for those who don't want to, or there will be a virtual aspect to some extent. Yes.
And one more part to this question, for this year's conference, there was talk of swag bags, but according to a few people I've talked to, they haven't received any. Do you know what's happening?
Where's Amy? There's Amy. I can see Amy on my screen there. I wonder where that question came from. Actually, I think that question has been coming up for. Actually, as I understand, and I wish I had the answer in front of me. I actually went to Lori; she had the answer. The swag is supposed to come from the companies that were serving it up. So I would suggest if you want to reach out to me individually at joel@ataxia.org. I will forward that on and get that answer, sent out again. But I think the swag is actually coming from the organization that we're a part of it. But that's the 3rd time I've heard that this week, and that does not include Amy's.
Yeah, well, I've been hearing it a lot in the sport group, but
very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and ask people to maybe use the raise your hand button, and we'll go ahead and ask questions. Let me turn it on to let me turn it on to gallery view so I can see everyone, but use the raise hand button, and I will get to you and you can unmute yourself and we'll see. Because we don't want everyone jumping in.
Yeah.
Because it kind of gets messy. So, Amy, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Now, Joel, I know you said you're a big fan of pharma.
Yep.
But I was wondering if there's any potential research going on that focuses on non-pharmaceutical treatments like traditional Eastern medicine.
You know what, Amy? I don't know, and I don't. I can't tell you a time that I've heard any discussion about that in our office. Totally candid. I don't know of any, and I haven't heard of any.
Um, Actually, further to Amy's question,
Mhm.
I was wondering if there's any, like, there's been a lot of research in the MS community, Parkinson's, about the correlation between like intense exercise and some sort of positive developments in terms of their conditions. And I'm wondering, I know it's kind of harder with the taxi because it's a smaller community, but is there anyone working on that or even thinking about that?
If you've the last couple of conferences, we've certainly had folks in the areas of physical therapy, and certainly Dr. Schmaumann from Mass General in Boston come to mind. On folks just talking about movement and physical therapy, and maintaining that your movement. I think Dr. Schmaumann said keep moving it or lose it. Move it or lose it, I think he was saying. So from that standpoint, the physical therapy and the physical aspect is real important. I'd have to go back. I know we had there was a real solid presentation in 2019 at our Las Vegas convention. Was all about that, Mark.
Okay. Is
How
there
many people
anyone?
here are going to be participating in the walk and roll this year? Anybody? Mary Beth, where are you? There you are. I know Mary Beth's got it. Amy's got it. I hope you will. Hey, Susan, I hope you will. Even, those are small ways, and they're kind of fun. I think that's the one thing about our local passion fundraising events and things like the Burpee Challenge. They can be fun and bring some people together.
Right.
So I hope you will.
Is Amy? Did you have another question? I see your hand. Sorry.
Yes, this question is more about the webinar information
Sure.
from the NAF conference that was just passed. Have they been loaded yet to the NAF site? Because I couldn't find it. Now I could log into my conference, login, and I could view on demand. But I'm asking more for people who didn't go to the conference.
Well, I know you could download those sites for about, it might have been either 30 or 60 days following that, but I'm not sure if they're available afterwards. I will find out and get that answer for you, Amy.
Okay, thanks, Joel.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Jesse, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Hope for Ataxia tagline could be changed to Hope for Ataxia.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's end it. Yeah. It's,
That satisfies well, eh, Joel?
yeah, there you go. It's that's just one of those little things. That's what I'm hoping for. We joke around our office from time to time. It's usually on Zoom meetings now how we're trying to work ourselves out of a job. You want us to go away is what you want,
Right.
and that's
Right.
what that's our ultimate goal.
Right.
That's where we want to get to. It's I will tell you this. I don't know how many people paid attention to this, but this is something I don't mind sharing this. Even the fact that we're recording this, Mark. We were in Las Vegas 2 years ago. Dr. Susan Perlman was our keynote speaker, and during her keynote, she talked about that day, that we are in 5 years we'll be in a position for a disease-modifying treatment for those living with ataxia. And I remember hearing that, and I just wrote that down, and I'm like, Susan Perlman, I think everybody knows about her in this community. She's just wonderful. I have a lot of faith in her, and so a couple, during our conference this year, she and we did a question and answer during the conference, and it was a fire drill. It was question after question. She was amazing to work with on that. But I asked her, I said, I think actually, truth be told, I made it sound like somebody else was calling, it was asking the question, but it was coming from me because I wanted the answer. I said, Dr. Perlman, 2 years ago, you thought, you'd talked about in 5 years, we'd be zeroing in on a disease modifying treatment. And I said, now we're 2 years into it. And she said, we're on track. We're getting there. And that was wonderful for me to hear. And I think for those of you that may have been on that, Susan Perlman has certainly got that voice and that knowledge for us to stand up and listen to when she speaks. So that was pretty cool.
Stacy, I think you had a question. You can just unmute yourself.
It was more just a comment, Joel, and a follow-up to my question about it being in person versus virtual.
Sure.
I find myself to be very challenged, to be getting around and to be in places that I'm not familiar with.
Sure.
And I found it to be very convenient to be able to participate from home.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. So, you know what? There's, I think, one of the things that this pandemic has really made all of us do is get better at technology and a comfort level, that maybe we didn't have before. And I think we all saw the importance of being able to, for those. Sometimes it's also a cost thing too, right, Stacey? In terms of people being able to afford to go, let alone the movement and everything. So I think we're zeroing in on the right mix between virtual and in person. I think one of the things that we're also able to do with this digital platform from last year is to go back and see of all these things that we had going on, and we had like 800 and some, it might have been over 1,000 people register for this. How many people actually went to each one to see what they were most involved with? That's another thing that we can learn from that data. But Stacey, you're right. I think we certainly saw a benefit for a lot of people to be able to attend virtually. And the number of first-time attendees was tremendous this year. So that's another good thing. So Stacey, you can count on something being, maybe not to the full extent that it was this year, but that whole area won't be ignored at all.
So last question, because we don't want to take up too much of Joel's time here.
Are you kidding me? I've been looking forward to this. I mean, this has been the fastest 50 minutes for me all week.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Stephanie, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
It's not exactly a question, but it's about the conference that we just had, the virtual one. I just wanted to comment that I think I really liked it. I really liked the virtual aspect. And I thought everybody did a really good job.
Well, thank you. That's nice. I appreciate hearing that, and I'll pass that on to my colleagues and let them know that, it's that's nice to hear. Trust me, we hear when things go wrong and we have issues. So it's very nice to have you say that, and I will certainly pass that along. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot for your time today, Joel, and answering all our questions. And we will talk to you again.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's nice to see some new faces and some people I haven't seen for a while. Amy, it's just been a couple of weeks for you and me. Jody, it's been a while. I think, did we lose Dana? I think we might have lost Dana, but Mary Beth, there we go. Hey, nice to see everybody. Have a great weekend. I wish you all the best, okay? And remember, it's joel@ataxia.org, JOEL, don't forget the L. And it'd be nice to hear from you, all right? Take care, everybody. Thank you, Mark, very much for having me. I'm gonna go do a burpee. I'll do a burpee.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Joe.